course, within the course? Well, first off, I will mention just a barrier to entry. Yes, I'm trying to simplify this and make it available for everyday people. But this isn't a course on the beginning of programming concepts. So things like arrays and variables and data types and operations are assumed understanding for this course. Now, if you don't know that, there is near the end of the crash course in Python, there is a where to go from here page, which talks about where to progress with your learning. And that's a great place. There's a book that's referenced there, and you can jump to the end of that lecture if you want in order to build on these concepts. I also teach a Golang course, which is on Google's Golang language, which cover off the concepts. So if you wanted and enjoy my courses, you're welcome to jump into there and to cover off the basic programming things. But I am assuming for students that you know how to program and that you may simply not have any experience in machine learning and data sciences or any experience in Python. So if you have, if the idea of arrays, and especially the difference between by reference and by value, that's the key thing that I'm going to be assuming is something that you understand, is that variable A may contain the value 15, but it may also have a different memory location, and how those play out. If you understand sort of the difference between a reference to a variable and the variable itself, then you're going to be in perfect shape for what comes in the course. Now, that being said, I mean, if you're not a programmer, don't hesitate to enjoy and watch all this content. But if you're going to apply these things and actually develop with them, you'll want to cover that off first. But certainly, please jump in and enjoy the content, and you'll get to see how a real-life machine learning problem gets defined and goes through the various pieces of the workflow to be successful. Now, topics for today, or this course in general, is we have the introduction and setup, and I'll describe the platform and why I've chosen it. I'm going to give you a crash course in Python in which I'll be describing exactly the basics of the Python language. I'm going to give you hands-on in running Python, so we're going to show the different ways that you can run Python, and we're going to do foundations of machine learning and data science. And this should be review for most of you, but since it may have been a while since you took the course and you're just jumping into this additional content, I do want to review it and make sure we're all on the same page. And I'm going to get into Python and data science for machine learning, where I define the modules that will be used and are normally used in a machine learning implementation. And then we're going to do a real-life example, and that's developing a machine learning application using scikit-learn. And I said sink or swim, and I'll explain what that's about later. And then, of course, there's conclusion and next steps. Now, even though that this course within the course, this material itself is over 2 hours in length, much of the course is like an iceberg, so that for everything I touch on the top of the iceberg, there's a lot of material underneath. And, to make this from being too intensive and too difficult and wanting to really give people a couple different things. One is seeing the tip-to-tail experience. How do you go from a machine learning problem to a machine learning solution, right? To see the big picture. And just like you might be trying to look for the forest from the trees, the real thing I'm trying to define here is to help you see that big picture. And if I've been successful in doing that and giving you places that you can then go so that you can successfully continue to grow your machine learning and data science experience, then I've been successful in what I'm trying to set out in this course. In addition to that, the way that I'm going to deliver this course is I'm going to do it similar to a cooking show. You've already seen that. I've got something downloading in the background. Hopefully you do too. And so there's certain times that I'm going to sort of come in and out of the video, invite you to do something. You can pause the video, you can do it as well, and then you can continue with the video. No different than somebody who's doing a cooking show where they say, okay, put this in the oven, and then they take the fully baked item out of the oven and they continue the program. Now, I also don't believe in death by PowerPoint, so you'll notice here that I don't have a lot of bullets in all of my slides. I'm not just going to read the slides to you. If you wanted a book, you would have bought a book. But remember, these are recorded videos, so you can always return back to them anytime, okay? And you're also going to have access to the source code examples, right? including everything that I'm showing here with you. Now, what are we going to be building? Well, we're going to be building an example that's based on the Titanic. And so we're going to take survivability data, right? Data about the passengers that were on the Titanic, and we're going to try to answer whether any of those features within the data, or if there's any patterns in the data in terms of the people that survived or perished from the Titanic disaster, right? So, did you have better chances if you were in first class, second class, or third class? Did you have better chances if you were young or old or somewhere in between? And we're going to explore that data rather extensively, and we're going to use something called matplotlib in order to create lots of graphs about the data and to explore it. And we're going to go through that process, that machine learning process of looking at it and trying to identify the pieces of it that we're trying to solve, cleaning up the data and exploring the data, and then applying a machine learning algorithm, and then really looking at, okay, how did that algorithm perform, and looking at where to take that algorithm from